Yes, sir, we are live.
Okay. Okay. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. Hello. Hello. Hello, everyone. Yes, Parth. Yes. I'm recovering slowly day by day. So, yes, better than yesterday. Good evening. Good evening, everyone. Good evening. Good evening. I hope you people can hear me. Am I audible? Like I am audible to everyone. And I hope people can also see my screen. Good evening. Good evening, everyone. Am I audible properly to everyone? Am I audible to everyone? Yeah, great. That's great. That's great. Is my screen visible? Good evening, everyone. It wasn't uploaded. Assignment link. Okay, no problem, no problem. It will be given today. That is not a problem. It's okay. It's totally okay. Hema, there was no assignment yesterday actually. I didn't give any because I wanted to complete few things today, and then I'll give the assignment. Because yesterday we only completed encapsulation and I feel function overloading. So there was nothing much to create a assignment. So that's why I didn't give it. So today we'll complete inheritance, and we'll also complete function overriding, the concept of function overriding. So we'll complete few things, then you're good to go with some assignments. Then I'll give some assignments. So don't worry. Yesterday's topics were very normal actually. They were just conceptual topics. So that's why. Do we have any doubts in yesterday's topics? I feel everything is cleared. Now people understand what is encapsulation, what is data hiding, and what is function overloading. What is runtime and all that. Don't worry, Tosef. Today we have that in mind. Today I'm going to explain you what is runtime polymorphism. Don't worry. Yesterday, what we learned about function overloading, right? And I also said you people that that is something known as polymorphism. That was compile time polymorphism. So when you perform function overloading, basically you're achieving compile time polymorphism. And today I'll also show you what is runtime polymorphism and how it is achieved. So basically, polymorphism is not something that you people perform, like, okay, fine, I have to do polymorphism. You never do like that. You just do some kind of overloading, some kind of overriding, and you just create some functions with the same name but they behave differently, so in different environments. That's how you achieve polymorphism. It's not like you have to go and, okay, fine, today I'm gonna go and do polymorphism. It's not like that. You never do polymorphism by like yourself. It's just a concept that you achieve, that's all. Exactly, it is a way of doing, that's all. Yes, Samrina, I'm getting good. I'm recovering. Yes, I'll explain Tosef. Don't worry. Today I'm going to explain you why. It's very simple. When I talk about compile time and runtime, it's very simple. So when we say compile time, something that happens at the time of compilation is compile time, right? We have learned Java, like, remember the first lecture we had, Tosif, the first lecture where I taught you about the first step that happens in Java is the compilation, right? So your .java file gets converted to a bytecode. So that is the compilation. So anything that happens at that time, converting your Java code to bytecode, is basically compile time things. And whatever happens at the time of interpretation, whatever selections or changes happen at the time of interpretation, basically when your code is running, when you're going to get the output, that is basically runtime. That's the only difference. So it's just how you say it. When you say compile time, anything that happens at the time of compilation is compile time. And anything that happens at the time of execution, when your code is like going to run, that is runtime. That's so simple. And function overloading is compile time polymorphism. That basically means the program understands which function to call at the time of compilation. That's all. That's all. Parth, I was tested positive for COVID. That's what happened to me. and I'm recovering now, so it's totally fine. I was tested positive for the famous virus, Corona. But now I'm okay. I'm recovering. I'm recovering good. Thank you all for being there. I hope you understood, Tosif. That's the only difference between compile time and runtime. Anything that happens at the time of compilation, at the time of when Java gets converted to bytecode, that is compile time. Anything that happens at the execution time, when your code is actually getting the output, when it is getting interpreted for the output, that is runtime. Neha, I tested it, Neha. So actually, I was not feeling well for 4 days. Then I just tested to check, and it was that, unfortunately. Okay, so can we move ahead now? So yesterday we completed encapsulation and data hiding and function overloading. Tosif, don't worry, I'll make you understand very clearly today also. So don't worry. Oh, Parth, you're also suffering. So I hope you're okay now, buddy. I hope you're okay. I hope you're okay. I hope you're recovered and okay. Drink a lot of hot water, take steam. That's the best medicine for this. And eat very, very healthy food. Eat lots of food. That's the only thing you can do here. And you will get recovered in like 7 to 10 days. Hot water and steam is very important, guys. Oh, that's amazing, Parth. That's amazing. That's great that your father is doctor. That's very helpful. Great, great, Parth. Okay, guys. So can we move ahead now? Ready for today's topic? So today, first thing that we are going to learn is inheritance, and then we'll move forward to the function overriding concept. And then if we get time, we're also going to do that interface thing to understand what is abstraction, right? So let's move on. So the first thing, the very important thing, and one of the most important and heard of topics in object-oriented programming is inheritance. Now, when I say inheritance, so a lot of time what happens, people make inheritance sound tough or look tough. And actual in reality, inheritance is very, very easy. It's very simple concept. That's all, right? So when I say inheritance, you can say the process of extending a class by some other class is basically inheritance. The like understand the definition. It's not like a lot of place at a lot of places it is written like the process of deriving a class or the process of creating a new class with some other class. Just don't take it like this. Just take it like this. The process of extending the features of some other class to some other class is basically inheritance. A kind of relationship where one class can use the features of other class is basically inheritance. That's all. That's all the definition has. The process, yes, Akash, that is the agenda. We have inheritance, then we have overriding, and then if we get time, we're also going to learn about interfaces and abstraction. So that is the agenda. We have three things in our mind. Okay, so let's do it. Let's try to understand it here. Let's just get down here. Yes, Parth, you can say it like that, but right now I don't want people to understand it like father and child or parent and child. I just want you to people understand like normal classes. Just understand them like normal classes, and then we'll understand why they are known as, why this concept is known as inheritance. So don't directly take it like parent and child, just take it like normal classes. So in runtime polymorphism, we can any keyword. We can any keyword. I don't understand your question, buddy. We can any keyword. What does it mean? We can use any keyword. Is it like that? Okay, please let's focus, guys. Yes, yes, exactly. I'll write it. So the definition states like this: the process of, you can say, extending the features of one class by another class. Something like this. You can say it like this. This is the definition. The process of extending the features of one class by another class is basically inheritance. Very simple. Now, when I say the process of extending, that basically means, let's say you have a class. Let's say you have a class demo, right? You have a class demo, and it has, when I say features, that basically mean properties and methods. Simple. So let's say it has a few properties. So it has property 1, it has property 2, and it has property 3, right? And let's say it has method 1, and it has let's say method 2, something like this. So it is a, there's a class which three with like three properties. It can be anything, it can be name, age, blah blah blah, anything. So I have a class named demo with three properties and two methods. Very simple, right? Normal, very normal. Now let's say in future I create another class. Let's say after some years or some months of use of this class, I use this class for some months, and then let's say in future I require one more class in my software. I require one more class in my program. So I create it. I just go and create it. So I create a new class named demo, or let's say I just name it new class. So now I have a new class, and this new class also has its own properties, like property 4, property property 5. It can have its own properties, and it can have its own methods, right? So method 3. So there's a new class which has its own properties and methods. So this is a new class. Now let's say wherever I'm using this new class in my program, wherever I'm using this class in my program, I also want this class to have all these features. So I want demo class to only have these three properties and two methods. Listen carefully, everyone. Just, it's a very simple definition. I only want this demo class to have these three properties and two methods. But I want this new class to have these two properties, these two methods, and also all the properties and methods of the demo class. I want my new class to have its own properties and methods, plus the properties and methods of the demo class too. So there's one thing I can do. I can just go on and rewrite everything again. One thing I can do is I can just go on and rewrite everything. I can just copy from demo and just paste it here. I can just rewrite everything, right? This is one thing I can do. So in this case, what will happen now? My demo will have its own properties and methods, plus my new class will also have all the properties and methods. Perfectly fine, working. But the problem is, I can see, okay, fine. There are three properties and two methods that I have repeated in my program. In a demo class and in also a new class. So is there a way by which I can use, if there is a need of same properties and methods again, I can directly reuse them instead of writing them again? Can I do something like this? That is my problem. This is the problem I have. So can I use the already existing features of some class in some other class so that I don't have to write that code again? Can I do this? And yes, it is possible. And for that thing, now I don't have to write this all these things again. What just I have to do, I have to create a relation between the demo class and the new class, because this new class wants to use the feature of the demo class. And for that, it's very simple. You have to just go on like in the front of new class, whatever class you want to like get the features in, and just write extends the class you want to use the features of. That's so simple. And by writing this, you can say that new class is extending demo class. That basically means this new class is getting all the features of demo class. So now you don't have to write. You can just say this new class is having all the features of demo class internally. That's all. And this new class can use this method 1 of demo class, method 2 of demo class, and all the properties of demo class without writing it again. Without writing, you can just use it now. So now what happens? Now if you just go on and create the object of new class, like new class nc equals to new of new class. If you do something like this, if you want, you can call nc dot method 3, that is its own method. You can see method 3 its own method. And if needed, nc can also use method 1 that was actually of coming from the demo class. And that's all. So basically my new class is extending demo class. That basically means it can use all the features of demo class. And then this relationship only works one way. Yes, why not, Parth? Yes, totally fine. Yes, I'm going to show you how to do that. Don't worry. Any class can extend any class, not a problem. And this relationship, I'm saying this relationship only works one way. So basically it feels like key new class is having its own properties, plus it is also having the properties from some other class. And this is not working vice versa. It's not working like, okay, demo can also use the properties of new class. It's not working like that. So basically this concept matches the human concept of inheritance. If we say this concept like, if I am a child, I have my own properties and features, plus I'm also having few features from my parents, but they are not having my features. I'm having their features plus some features by myself. They are not having my features. So this concept is actually similar to this concept. And that's why this concept of extending a class by some other class is known as inheritance. This is the reason it is called inheritance, because it matches the features of a human inheritance. Yes, exactly. It can use Ishan. Yes, exactly. New class can use prop 123. Yes, exactly. Because it is extending a class, it can use all the features of the class. Is it clear, everyone? Now is it understood what is inheritance? Yes, Parth. Yes, we can. Yes, you we can go to multiple files and use this concept. Not a problem at all. Only this is the concept I want you to get. That's all. We how many files we're gonna use, I will use that. Don't worry, I'm gonna show, because I always create new classes in new files, so don't worry. I always create new class in new file. This is just a demo that I want to show you what actually inheritance is. Basically, when a class requires some features of other class, it can just go on and simply extend that class, and by this it can use all the features of that class, and that's all. And when I say use, that basically means the object of new class can call all the functions and properties of the demo class. That's all. No, not at all, Manasa. It is fine if they are in different packages. It is fine. Inheritance can also be done in different packages. You just have to import the class. It is totally fine if they are in different packages. Not a problem, Manasa. It is totally fine. Is it understood now? Sangeet, what is your doubt, buddy? Is it clear to everyone now? I think my video quality is a little poor. Just give me a second. So the class, Sangeet, just listen to me. The class which is providing the features. So the class which is extending is basically always the child class, because I'm extending the features. I'm getting the features from someone. So I'm the child. Child never gives the feature. All parent always gives the feature. So the class which is extending is always the child class. And in this case, demo is providing the features. That's why it is parent. That's all. That's why we are naming them parent and child. Is it clear? So this is how inheritance works. The process of extending the features of one class by another class, where the class which is giving the features is parent, and the class which is taking the features is basically the child. Yes, Siddharth, I'm recovering, buddy. I'm recovering. Thank you for asking. I'm recovering. Is it understood, everyone? Is the concept of inheritance cleared now? And it's basically made to reuse the code. Inheritance is basically made to reuse the code. So inheritance is basically for reusability. That's all. Everything in object oriented programming is either related to security or related to reusability. That's all. Always remember this. Everything in object oriented programming is either made to make your program secure, like data hiding, encapsulation, right? In future, we are also going to learn abstraction. That is also for security. So in everything that is made in object oriented programming is mainly for code reusability or code security. That's all. Yes, Parth. It also makes the code readable, because you're not writing the same code again and again. So it makes your code look a little short. That's why. Yeah. Now there's one very important thing. You always have to remember, private things are never inherited. Remember this thing. Private things are never inherited. So let's say if you have a property 7, but that property is private, that basically means this property 7 cannot be used by this child. So private things are never inherited. Always remember this. So anything that is private is never going to be used by the child class. Private things are never inherited. Is it cleared? Is the point clear? Public things are normally inherited. Private things are never inherited. Are you going to remember this? Is it easy to understand? And now let's talk about static and final. I think they are inherited, buddy. Tosif. Because they are just normal variables, right? They are just normal variables. And now one more thing. We learned about this access specifier, right? Protected. Now let's say if you have a protected property, let's say prop 8, remember this thing, protected things are only used by the current class and the child class. So public can be used by anyone, default can be used by anyone in the same package, but protected things are only used by the current class and the child class. So whatever is protected can be only used by me and my child class. Is it clear, everyone? Is it clear? So that's what protected means. So whenever you want to share something between only the parent and child, when you want to get something to be accessed only by the parent and child, that's where you make things protected. Is it clear? Is it clear? So protected basically comes into play when you're performing inheritance. Otherwise, inheritance is just function that you want, that should only be accessed by the parent and the child. Make it protected. Private is never inherited, and public and defaults are public, so not a problem at all. Is it clear, everyone? My video is pausing. Yes, even I saw it. What is the problem? No, I think StreamYard is working fine. Is it okay now? Yes, Jagdish, yes, exactly. Is it okay now? Is it okay? What about main? Sai, what about main? Main, you are never going to inherit a main class because there is only one main function. So you're never going to inherit that class. So not a problem. Okay, all good? Yes, I'm going to give example program. Don't worry. I'm going to give example program. This is just the idea that I wanted you to know. I just wanted you to know, understand what is inheritance. Don't worry. I'm going to give example. I always give examples, you know, right? I always give you examples. So don't worry. This was just for your understanding. I just wanted you to understand inheritance in a very simple way so that you never feel that inheritance is tough to understand or to perform. That's all I wanted to do. A lot of people think inheritance is very, very tough. That's why I just made a very simple definition and made a very simple sample to understand it. That's why I just made it. Now let's understand the use, where we want to use it. Let's try to understand the use. So where can we use it? Like it, you like now you always have to remember whenever you perform some kind of inheritance in your program, whenever you think of using inheritance, you have to also understand the use. Is there a need of doing it? It's not like that you have learned object oriented programming, so you have to use it again and again in your program. Yes, Itakshi, you have to only use it whenever you're performing inheritance. So whenever you feel it, basically depends on the use case. It totally depends on the use case. If you feel you have some property or method that you want to only share in the parent and child, then you're going to use protected. And yes, exactly. Protected can only be used while inheritance. That's all. Only when you're performing inheritance. Other than that, there is no use of protected. Even if you make something protected, it is only accessible inside the same class. If you don't have child, protected is basically private, right? If you don't have a child, protected is basically private. That's all. Is it clear, everyone? Good to move ahead. Okay, now it totally depends on the use case. if I have to use inheritance or not. You don't have to. Please never think like this. Okay, fine. I have learned this. I have learned inheritance. I have learned polymorphism, so I have to use in all my projects. It's not like that. It totally depends on the use case. If it is required, then you're gonna use inheritance. If it is required, then you're gonna perform function overloading. If it is not required, it's not like at all. Like there are a lot of projects that I have made in my school time or in my office that I have never used inheritance concept or something like that. It totally depends on the use case. If it is required, then only use it. Understand it like this. It's not mandatory. Okay, fine. I'm creating a project, so I have to use inheritance. It's not like that. So let's generate a use case where we're gonna use it, right? So Franklin, there was no assignment yesterday. Franklin Johnson, there was no assignment yesterday because we didn't cover a lot of topics. They were very simple topics. So today we're going to cover inheritance, and if we get time, we're also going to cover abstraction. So I'm going to give assignment today because today we have something to do. So let's first do it. Let's try to do it, people. Let's try to understand this. So now let's perform inheritance, right? Let's perform inheritance. So let's say I run a company, right? Let's just get an idea. Let's say I have actually school. I this is a school, right? So in school I am maintaining like all the records of students, of teachers, of, let's say I have different kinds of employee. Let's remove students from it. Let's remove students from it. I maintain different kind of employees. I have different kind of employees. I have teachers, then I have let's say lab assistants. So I have also I have also have principal. Also have clerks. So I have different kind of employees, right? Yes, exactly, Jagdish. Let's try to understand. So now let's say this is a project of a school management system, and in my school I have different kind of employee having different kind of properties. Monica, I'll tell you, don't worry, I'll tell you at the end how many days are left. So let's say I have different kinds of employees, and all my employees have different features. So let's say teachers have subjects, lab assistant have what kind of labs they maintain, clerk have what kind of files they maintain. So all my different employees have different features, but they also have same features like name, age, salary. These are some same features they have. So whenever I come into scenario like this where I have few entities for which I have to create classes, so they have a lot of features that are different, but they also have a lot of features that are very same. So in this case I can do something called as reusability. So what I can do, I can create a class which will hold all the same features, and I can create different classes which will hold all the different features, and then all the features are inside some other class in a class, let's say employee class. Then all my teachers, clerks, principals can inherit that employee class to get all the features to them. I'll explain how it is working. If you don't understand verbally, I'll explain how it is working. So let's say, let's remove this calculation. I don't need this calculation class. So let's say I have employee. Let's remove all these things for now, just to understand now. So let's say I have this employee, and now let's create different kind of employee classes. So new Java class. So let's say one class I have is teacher class. Yes, exactly, Parth. Why not? Why not? Exactly. Please see, everyone. Please see, you'll understand. Please see, you'll understand. Don't worry. So I have a teacher class, and then I can also have a new, let's say headmaster class. New. Let's not say headmaster. Let's say a principal. Yeah, that's fine. Principal. Okay, there's a spelling mistake in principal. Just forget that. Don't worry about it. Or I'll just rename it. Don't worry. Wait, where is the rename option? Refactor, rename. Why it's not selecting rename? Refactor. Come on, man, rename it. Yes, rename file, please. Make it PRIN, refactor. That's all, and I can just make it now PRIN, principal. Okay. Yes, why not, AK? You can just create a folder and Notepad, like while using Notepad, it will be a little tough for you. So either I'll suggest you to use some editor like VS Code or Sublime Text, run by command prompt, but at least use VS Code or Sublime Text, because you can perform it in Notepad, but using Notepad, it will be a little tough. Akib, I don't know right now, because we have a limited days for this course, so I don't know I'm gonna discuss about streams or not. But if we get time, I'll definitely gonna get some time to discuss it. Don't worry. Okay, let's focus on the topics now. So now let's say teachers have some features like teachers subjects. So they can have subjects. So I can have string. Let's say subject one, subject two. Let's say all teachers teach three subjects. So subject two, and then say subject three, right? What else features can teacher have differently? What are the some other features that teachers have and that principals don't have? Please let me know in the chat, guys. What are the different features that teachers only have and principals don't have? Attendance. Okay, attendance marking is basically I feel it's a function, right? Yeah. So they can have different functions, like, okay, fine. So they can have different function like public, let's say public void. Let's say there's a function named mark attendance, right? Perfect. This is one method, this is one functionality that teachers have, right? So they can mark attendance, teachers can mark attendance. And then let's say they also have public void test papers. So this function can calculate marks of students, right? So like something like this. Yeah. And now principals can have some features like, let's just take some sample things. That's all. I'm just trying to make you understand what inheritance actually is. How actually you understood what inheritance is. You're understanding how you're going to use it, right? So not only teachers have unique ID, Tosif, everyone can have unique ID. All the employees, all the students have unique ID. Now let's say principal has some features like some methods like public void, let's say um, announce. So principal always tries to announce something in the college. And then let's say principals can also have some method like public void inspect the school. So inspect classes. This can be one feature. This can be one function that principal have, right? Yeah. So there's something like this. So now here in this case, my teachers have few properties differently that only teachers can have, and few functions. And now principal is also having few functions of its own. But there are few things that teachers and principal have in common. Now, instead of writing that common features inside teachers once and inside principals one, what I can do, I can just go in employee and I can write all the basic features like let's say string name, integer age, integer salary. Let's not say integer because salary can be a big number, so we can make it double salary, right? Then we can have few features like public void get details, which can get details, right? And you can also have public void display details, right? Now these two are for employees. And now what I can do, if I want all these features to be available in teacher and in principal, just now I learned, right? We can just go on and write extends employee. That's all. And principal also extends employee, and that's all. Now my teacher has its own subjects, right? Own two methods plus all the things that an employee has like name, age, salary, get, and display detail. Same with principal. Principal has its own two methods and again all the features that an employee has. That's all. So I reuse the same code. I reuse this code for teacher and principal, and I can also reuse for different kind of employee like lab assistant or clerk or peon or for anyone else. Is it understood now how I'm going to use inheritance? This is how you're going to use. So whenever you feel there is something that is going to be used repeatedly for all the classes, so if you feel there is something, there are some features and some functionalities, some method that we have to use repeatedly for multiple classes, instead of writing them again and again in all the classes, create a separate class, put all in that class, and then create separate classes and create their all the separate features, and then inherit this class for like each and every class. They will have all the features. Is it understood? This is where you're going to use inheritance. So like in some project there can be something like you want to maintain some database connections, some file connections, some network connection, and which is going to be used by all the classes. So what you can do, you can just create a separate class, maintain all your database connections, network connections there, and then whenever some other class needs it, it will just inherit the class and use that database connection and network connections. You don't have to write that database connection and network connection again and again for each and every class. So that's the use. Reusability, guys, that's all. Is it clear, everyone? Yes, I'll run, don't worry. No, Jagdish, this is just normal inheritance. This is not, you can say, multiple inheritance. This is, I feel, actually, yes, exactly. Yes, Parth, exactly. Exactly. Now, remember, guys, like if you learn like something online, there's something called as types of inheritance that I'm not a great believer of. I don't believe in type of inheritance. It totally depends how you're using your inheritance. So sometimes your cases can be like, okay, fine, teacher is implementing, like teacher is extending employee. Let's say there is some other class which needs the feature of employee plus teacher, then it can just only extend teacher. So it goes like it is named as multi-level inheritance. When like one class is inherited by multiple things, it is known as hierarchical inheritance. So it totally depends of how you're going to use it, and it just comes out. You're not going to think like, okay, fine, okay, I have to use multi-level inheritance here, okay, I have to use multiple inheritance, oh, I have to use hybrid inheritance. It is never like that. Inheritance is just extending. It can be on multiple levels, it can be with multiple classes. Just think it like that. Never learn it like, okay, I have this types of inheritance and I have to learn types of inheritance. You never have to learn types of inheritance. Don't ever worry about it. Just understand inheritance, and types will directly fall in whenever you try to use it. Like I never thought I'm going to use this hierarchical inheritance. It just popped up depending on my need. That's all. How do more than one inheritance? It's simple, right? Like if there is an one more, like it totally depends. Like if I also have a, let's say, student class, and I have different kinds of student, I can just go on create one more class. I can have multiple parent classes. How to do more than one inheritance? You can do, right? I can create one more class like, okay, let's, inside the same program, let's, I can have like a student class, right? It can have its features like, okay, private string name, and I can have, let's say, now let's say I have different kind of students, right? So let's say I have a student, yes, it is possible, Tosif, why not? But I think we never make the structure like that. It is possible, Tosif, but we never make the structure like that, but it is totally possible. Yes, why not, Jagdish? Yes, but you never inherit two classes. That is the limitation of Java. You're never gonna inherit two classes. Multiple inheritance is not possible in Java. Java says you never have to inherit two classes. You can never inherit two classes. So basically, if you want the features of teacher, teacher is already existing extending employee. So principal can directly extend teacher. That is actually never the case. You never create a feature for teacher that is also for principal. That's why you have them separate, right? That's why you have them separate. Like it's a concept. Your principal is never going to have the features of a teacher. Yes, if your principal, like it let's say if your principal also teaches, so it needs the feature of teachers. So I have to create all the properties inside principal class again. That is the concept. You, if we do something like this, we are basically breaking the concept of maintaining different things. So in that case, everything comes inside single class again. If my principal is having all the features of teacher and my teacher is also having all the features of principal, then there is no need of a teacher class and a principal class. Then I can just create one class and put all the features. I'm making them separate just because to like keep these layers separated properly to use them. Yes, so then if let's say if my principal needs teacher features, then it don't have to extend employee class because teacher is already extending employee. So my principal can directly extend teacher. So it will have all the features of teacher plus employee. That is possible. But you never do that. That is very very wrong, right? No, you cannot extend more than one class as Pallavi. You cannot. That inheritance is basically banned in Java. You cannot extend multiple classes. You can only extend one class. That's all. Multiple inheritance of classes in Java is not possible. Remember this thing. Is it clear? And it is never needed actually. It was also never needed. Yes, exactly. It breaks the concept. Are we cleared with this? Because Uma, it is wrong. Having thing like multiple inheritance is actually wrong. It is never needed actually. If like I have been programming from a lot of time, but I have never like got a need of creating multiple inheritance. It was possible in C++, but that concept was wrong. That's why it has been removed from Java and C sharp. From higher level languages like Java and C sharp, it has been removed. So it is going to be written as principal.employee. No. You have just, if my principal is inheriting employee, I can just create principal object and I can call all the employee features. I don't have to write principal.employee. So multiple inheritance basically breaks the concept. You can only have a single parent behind you. Only we humans have two parents, but actually they are like considered as a single parent, single set of parent. That's all. So you're also always going to have a single parent behind you. Is it clear, everyone? Are we cleared with this? Yes, exactly, Jagdish. You don't do that. That is the concept. That's why we have teacher and principal separately. We only create parents for common things. Employee features were common. That's why we created teacher and principal, and we created only a single employee. Right? If all the features were for teacher and principal both, then there was no need of employee and teacher and principal. We would have created only a single class and given all the features to it. Then there was no need of performing all these operations. Getting my point? If I want everything to be accessible inside a single class, then there is no need of doing such things. We can just create a normal simple class and main, and we can just put all the features in that. That will totally work. Are we cleared with this? Remember, everything should follow the concept. That is what is important. Everything should follow the concept. Sangeet, why will we have to call other classes in principal, buddy? Principal is a different class, teacher is a different class, and everything else will be called inside main now. So let's say if I want to call teacher, I can just go on and write teacher t equals to new of teacher. And since teacher is inheriting employee, I can just see, I can call everyone. I can also call age, name, salary, which are coming from employee. And because teacher is inheriting employee, it can access all the features of employee plus its own subject 1, subject 2, subject 3. Yes, Avinash, yes, exactly. Then only there is a need of inheritance. Is it clear? Is it clear to everyone? Is the concept of inheritance cleared now? So now see, I can also call t dot get details, which is coming from employee, and t dot display details, which is like I have not written anything still now. Let's go and write few things that we need scanner class object. Let's just for now, instead of taking values, I'll just print something. You know how to take values, right? You know how to take values. So let's just print something. I'm not going to write the complete program now. I hope people understand how to take values. Or let's say, let's write it. Let's complete it for you people. Let's complete it once. Scanner SC equals to new of scanner system.n is a bit confusing. Can you elaborate a bit? Don't worry. We have not I've done multiple inheritance yet. I'll show you what is multiple inheritance. Don't worry. I'll also tell you when we learn interfaces, I'm definitely going to show you what is multiple inheritance. No, Monica, I don't feel Python has multiple inheritance. I doubt. There is multiple inheritance in Java, but you remember, as I said, multiple inheritance of classes is not possible. But there's a concept of interfaces where you can achieve multiple inheritance. And I'm going to teach you in some time. Don't worry. We have it. And I'm also going to explain you what is the problem with multiple inheritance. Enter name, age, salary. See? So I can just write name equals sc dot next, age equals sc dot next int, and salary equals sc dot next double. Simple. In the same case, I can just go on and write. I'll just display the name. I'll just display the name. That's all. And also the age, let's say. It's not that tough. Salary, I'm not displaying, but that's totally fine. See? So now, teacher only has two methods. Mark attendance. If you see it properly, teacher only has two methods, mark attendance and few properties. An employee has get details and display details. But inside main, if I create object for teacher, I can also call get details. I can also call display details. And if I want, I can also call mark attendance. So you can see teacher is able to call all the feature of itself, plus teacher is also able to call all the features of employee, because teacher is inheriting the employee. Teacher is a child of employee, so it can call all the features of employee. That's simple. So that's why I'm getting easy, like I'm able to call get details and display details, but they are coming from employee, as I know, but internally they are also available to teacher because I'm inheriting. By default, Jagdishan, the type is default. Data type, are you talking about data type? There's no default data type, Jagdishan. There's a default access modifier. There is no default data type. See, now when I run it, I'm able to access everything of employee using the teacher object. That basically means inheritance is working. Are we getting cleared here? We can connect with SQL or MySQL path. It's totally up to us. See now, Saurabh, 30,000, and that's all. See, I'm only printing name and age, but that's fine. And see, I'm also able to print mark the attendance. So I'm able to call get details with the teacher object. I'm able to call print details with the teacher object, and I'm able to call the mark attendance function of the teacher object. So teacher is able to call all its features plus all the features of employee, because it is inheriting employee. Simple. And anyone who is inheriting employee can call all the features of employee. Is it clear now? Are we cleared with the concept of inheritance? So whenever there is a need of reusability, you can always create a separate class. All the features that you're going to reuse in different classes, you can put all in that class, and then all my classes can inherit that single class and get all the features, can repeat and reuse all the features again and again. So it's totally for reusability. That's all. Whenever I feel there is a need of using some properties and features again and again in different classes, instead of writing them again and again for different classes, just create one class, put all there, and inherit it with some other classes. That's all. Is it clear, everyone? Are we clear with the concept of inheritance now? And don't worry about the types of inheritance. It totally depends. Like I never told you I performed single level inheritance. Like if there is only single class like employee and teacher, then it is a single inheritance, because only a single class inheritance. But if my teacher and principal both are extending employee, that is hierarchical inheritance. Just it is just going like a tree. So it totally depends on my need. I'm never gonna say it like, okay, yes, I'm gonna use multi-level inheritance here, I'm gonna use hierarchical inheritance. It's not a concept. It's just what we form by performing it. That's all. So sir, teacher is one using the other class. Am I right? Exactly, Sangeet. Exactly. Is it clear, everyone? Are we cleared with this? Can we move ahead now? Is the concept of inheritance cleared now? And we are going to use it in the next project that we're going to create, the last project. What I'm saying is just take everything very lightly. It's very simple. If you make it tough for yourself, it's going to be tough. Just take everything very lightly. It's very simple. Okay, now let's move ahead. Now there can be cases, like there are cases, there can be cases where something like this happens. See, something like this happens. Let's say my employee also has a function. Sir, will there be? Yes, exactly, Parth. At the end, I'll give you a project to create. Yes, I'm going to give a topic of a project to create. So there's one project that I'm going to create at the end of these sessions. And then there is one project that I'll give you to create. I'll ask you to create. Now let's move ahead. Let's see one more thing, one very, very important thing. Now there are cases that you told about some. Yes, exactly, AK. Yes, yes, I told about some card game. Let's see if we can achieve that. I have linked some sites. I think I'll give some more sites link on the article. In the article on Let's Upgrade, you can just go and watch it there. That's all. And I'm also going to give assignment 2 or 3 programs today, so don't worry about it. Now let's focus on one more thing first, very important thing. Now let's say there is a my employee has some feature. My employee has some feature like employees can take leave, right? Take leave. It can be something like it can happen. So employees can take leave, and by default, let's say all employee have 2-day leave. All employee have 2-day leave. So let's say it just prints, okay, fine, you have a leave of 2 days, something like that. So what basically I'm saying here is, let's say employee has some method. Employee has some method which performs something. Employee has some method which performs something. Now in this case, what will happen? But on Google, it is showing that there is a multiple inheritance in Python. It uses method resolution order. Yes, Monica. So I feel there may be a case that is available. So I have never tried in multiple inheritance in Python. So by using some kind of like, if you remember my definition, what I said, multiple inheritance of classes is not allowed, because that is a wrong concept. So in Java also multiple inheritance is allowed, but using interfaces. So maybe in Python, by using some kind of operator or some kind of whatever written like method resolution order, it is maybe allowed, but it is never allowed by default. It is never performed by default. So I have not like performed this kind of multiple inheritance in Python. Then I have to check once. So I can just check and get back to you then once. I have to find like if it is directly allowed, or is it allowed by some different like doing some different thing. Just like in Java, we have to perform a concept of interfaces to achieve multiple inheritance. So is like, if it is directly allowed in Python, or it is allowed via using some different case or some different scenario, I have to check. Then I'll get back to you, don't worry. Okay, 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 I have to check once. I have to check. Monica, I'll check and get back, don't worry. Because the concept of multiple inheritance is wrong, that I'm saying. And if it is allowed, it will be allowed with some kind of extra help, some different case or some different operator or scenarios, something like that will be allowed. So I have to check once, don't worry, Monica. And even if it is allowed, then maybe I have to check. In my knowledge, maybe I didn't check it. Yes, we have a keyword named implements for interfaces. And don't worry, we have that topic. I'm not teaching it right now. We have that topic in our mind. Let's try to first complete this thing. Everyone, let's try to complete this first. Monica, are you cleared now? I have to check once. No, Avinash, it is not completed. I'm going to show you what interfaces actually are. Don't worry. We have a topic of abstraction. When I teach abstraction, I'll let you know what are interfaces. Don't worry. Don't make this thing confusing for yourself. Let's just go step by step. I have planned everything for you people. Don't worry. You might have learned all these things, maybe few of these things somewhere, or you might have heard of these things somewhere. Don't worry. I know what are the things to be done. I know what are the topics that are needed. So don't worry. I'm going step by step. I'm teaching everything, and you will be learning interfaces whenever it is required. When it is required, I'll teach you. Don't worry. Okay. Let's continue now. Okay. Fine. So as I said, my employee can have a feature of taking a leave. My employee can have a feature of taking a leave. So let's say by default there's a feature, and by default there is written like you have leave of 2 days, right? Now my teacher is inheriting employee. That basically means that take leave is also available to teacher. Simple. That basically means I can just go on and write teacher dot take leave, and totally fine. But now what will happen? Whatever feature my employee has, the same feature, like you have the leave of 2 days, will be also available to teacher. Now if you see, if I just go on and write, if I run this program now, you'll see. Now see, I just go on and write Saurabh 45 2300, and see, you have a leave of 2 days. So now basically my employee has a feature like you have a leave of 2 days. So my teacher is also having a feature of like you have a leave of 2 days. But now let's say my teacher wants that leave feature. So teacher wants this function of take leave. Yes, exactly. Is exactly. Now some like teacher will have the take leave functionality, but there may be a case that teacher wants leave more than like 2 days. Like teacher requires 4 days or teacher requires 5 days. So I want to give a feature to my teacher to use the same function take leave, but if my teacher wants, teacher can change the implementation inside it. Like teacher will use the same function of take leave, but if teacher wants, teacher can go on inside the function and change the implementation of the take leave functionality. Like if it want 3 days, it can take 3 days. If we want 4 days, so it happens a lot of times. It happens that okay, fine, parent has some functionality and child wants that same functionality. Like teacher wants the take leave functionality, but sometimes child wants to change that functionality a little bit, wants the same function, but whatever is written inside the function, the child wants to change it a little bit, and this may be a case. There are cases that this is required. So what child can do, child can go on and create the same function, exactly same looking function, public void, exactly same look. This is very important. You should, the function signature should exactly look same. So see, my function looks exactly same as my parent function. And now the child can implement anything that the child wants. So now you have a leave of 5 days, like this. So the function is completely same. The functionality is completely same, but the implementation inside the function can be different. And child can do it. So child can write the same method because it is again going to take leave. So so the name of the functionality is same, but the implementation of the functionality can be changed by the child. Like if we want, we can write a different method, but then that the concept is wrong, right? If I want to take leave, I'm going to use the take leave function. That's what the concept of inheritance means. Employee already has take leave functionality, and teacher is basically child of employee. Teacher is inheriting the employee, so it is going to use the same take leave functionality, but I want to change a little bit like of the implementation. So if I want, I can write the same function and I can just change the implementation. This is what I can do. So by this case, the naming convention will remain same, the calling will remain same, but only the functionality has been changed. This is the thing that I want to achieve. Yes, exactly, Parth. So what will happen by this take leave? Like I don't have to go on inside main function and I have to like change this take leave. That's all. This is never going to change. This is simple because teacher is having the take leave function, but teacher is having its own different implementation of the take leave. So the naming convention is still same. That is, there is no problem with the naming convention. So I'm not creating a new method for like teacher. Teacher is following the same concept, only teacher is having its own implementation of take leave. Is it clear? So now what will happen? Now employee has a take leave function and teacher also has the same take leave function, right? Now according to inheritance, teacher is inheriting employee, and according to inheritance, when I call take leave from teacher, it should call this take leave function. But teacher already has its own take leave function. So now what will happen if I call this? So now teacher is the child of employee. So according to inheritance, teacher should call the employee's take leave function. But now teacher will not call the employee's take leave function. Teacher will call its own take leave function. If you see it now, see, for 5 days. So that basically means if I have a same function that is present in parent and I create the same function in child with different implementation, the child object will always gonna call its own. The highest priority of its is always for its own function. But like the case is, the function name should be the same. Is it clear, everyone? Is it clear? So whenever a child feels, okay, fine, I want this parent method, but I want the implementation in a little bit different way. So I can just rewrite the same function again in child and then call the function. And now the child will, instead of calling the parent's function, will call its own function. So basically, the child's function is overriding the execution of parent's function. And this concept is known as function overriding. That's all. Exactly. This is the concept of function overriding. Yesterday we learned function overloading. This is the concept of function overriding. Yes, exactly. It's quite like function overloading, but with different implementations. Exactly. Actually, not different implementation, but in different classes path. Then you have to create the object of parent AK. Then we have to create the object of parent. So if I want to create, like at first place, if I wanted to use the parent function, then I have never would overridden it. I am overriding is because I want to use the child functionality. And if I want to use the parent functionality, I have to create the parent object. That's all, AK. That's all. So it is same like function overloading, like same function with different implementation, but these are in two different classes. That's all. If they're in same class, then it is function overloading. But if these are in different classes, it is function overriding. But the different case is in function overloading, the parameter list should be different. But in function overriding, the signature of the function should be totally same. No different parameters, nothing. It should be totally same. Then only it will override. Otherwise, it will not override. Is it clear, everyone? Is it clear, everyone? If you call parents function, then it will call parents function. If it is required, you can call parent function. Not a problem at all. Is it clear, everyone? Bhageshri, then in that case, it will work like overloading, right, Bhageshri? If the parameter list is different, so let's say if my parent function has 2 parameters and if my child function has 3 parameters, so it's now like function overloading. Then if I pass 2 parameters, it will call the parent function. If I pass 3 parameters, it will call the child function. If it depends on parameters, that it's like function overloading. For function overriding, the signature should be totally same. The number of parameters, the name, the public, the everything should be totally same. The signature of the function, the first line, this thing, it should be totally same for function overriding. Then only it will gonna be overriding it. Naito, it will never gonna be override. If the argument list is changed, then it's not function overriding. Then again, it's function overloading. If we call the argument with two, like if we pass 2 arguments, then the function having 2 parameters will be called. If we call 3 arguments, then the function having 3 parameters will be called. Simple. Yes, you can call Harpal Singh, then you have to create the parent of object. Sorry, object of the parent. These are declared in different classes with different accessibility. It is possible. Yes, why not? It is possible. Then basically you're not performing overriding. Then these functions are considered like two different functions. Then Govind. If I change the signature, then these are two different functions, Govind. If I change the accessibility, then these are two different functions. Like simple. Yes, AK. If I pass different parameters, then it is like overloading, right? AK. If my parent class has two parameters and if my child class has three parameters, child function has three parameters, then it's like overloading, right? Then if I pass two parameters, the parent function will be called. If I pass three parameters, then the child function will be called. Simple. But we don't have to actually, function overloading is not the concept of two classes. Function overloading is the concept of a single class, AK. That is the different function. The definition of function overloading is functions with same name but different list of parameters in a same class, AK. That's all. Is it clear, everyone? This is again kind of polymorphism. Functions with same name but different execution, different implementations. What I'm saying, Suryansh, then we have to create the object of parent class, something like this. If I want to call parents function, then I have to do something like this. Teacher T1 equals to new of employee, then something like this. Getting my point? Actually not like this. Actually then you have to create, actually I did wrong, I'm so sorry about it. Then you have to create the parent of the object of employee class. Simple. That's all. Yes, overriding is only used in inheritance. That's what I'm saying. Overriding is only possible in inheritance. If I didn't want to override, then I, like, it is simple, Suryansh. If I want to call the parents function, then why will I override? I'm overriding because I want my child to have a different implementation. That's all. And if I want to call the parents function now, I have to create the parents object. Simple. Are you getting my point, Suryansh? If I ever wanted to call parents function, then there was no need of overriding, right? You getting my point? I used inheritance because I wanted all the features to get to the child. I wanted to access all the features of the parent. Simple. And just to maintain naming convention, that I knew, okay, fine, employee is having a take leave function. So just to maintain the naming convention, inside teacher, I also created a take leave function, because the concept of the function is same, only the implementation is different. So I cannot change name. So if I keep changing names, then again the same problem, understanding of the program, that will be a really big problem, right? Because if I want to take leave now, I always have to remember two functions. I have to remember, like, okay, fine, employee is also having a take leave function and teacher is having a separate take leave function, and both are named differently. Then I have to remember two functions. Just to maintain the naming convention, we are writing the same function again but changing the implementation, so that take leave is always take leave. There is no change in calling. Only teacher has its own implementation, but the function is still take leave. Is it clear? Just to maintain the naming convention. That's why we also use overloading, right? We can give some other name. That's totally fine. But we overloaded the function just to maintain the naming convention, so that the user should not like remember multiple names. They should remember only a single name to perform everything. In that same case, if I want to take leave, I only have to call take leave. I don't have to remember two or three functions. That's all. Is it clear? This all are just to maintain naming conventions. In object oriented programming, I said security, reusability. That's all. So At the very core, these are all for naming conventions to just build the concepts properly. So that if something is doing something, it should be named like that. It should not have like A, B, C, E, F, G names. Is it clear, everyone? Are we cleared with this, or do you have any doubt now? Is the concept of inheritance and function overriding cleared? Okay, let's move ahead. Let's perform the last topic for today. So before moving on to the concept of abstraction, I'm not like doing like this, saying you about abstraction and then showing you how it is done. I'll just show you the need, just like we learned everything else, right? I'll show you the need, and then I'll make you understand what actually is abstraction, so that you never forget about abstraction. So I'm never going to define abstraction and then I'm going to show you it's not like that. I'm just going to show you the need of it, and then I'm going to explain like how abstraction is actually getting achieved in Java. You don't have to mug it up. You just see how it is done. So, but before moving on to that, let's perform the last topic. Let's try to understand the last topic for today, something known as interfaces. Now let's try to understand what are interfaces. So we are not talking about abstraction right now. Don't feel it. We're not talking about abstraction right now. We're just talking about interfaces. That's all. So what is an interface in Java? Interface is basically something like class. Hear me out. Interface is something like a class. Interface is almost like a class, but the only changes are, if you create an interface, let's say like demo, all the properties inside an interface are by default final. So you don't have to write final. Any property that you create inside an interface is by default final. That basically means they are by default constant. Is it clear? So each and every property inside interface is by default final, and every method that you create inside interface should always be an abstract method. Now when I say an abstract method, so what is an abstract method? Methods that don't have definition. Methods that don't have definition are known as abstract methods. Remember this thing, something like this. Let's say I'm creating a method, and this method is never going to have a definition like this. This will never have a curly brackets body and some implementation. Methods that don't have any implementation are known as abstract methods, just like this: function, bracket, and semicolon. That's all. So basically an interface is just like a class, but the only difference is all the properties inside an interface are by default final, and all the methods inside interface are by default abstract. You never have to define. If you try to define them, then it will give you an error that, okay, fine, interfaces should have only have abstract methods. They should never have any implementation. Is that clear? What is the interface? How it is used, or what is the use of it, or what is achieved by using interface? I'm going to tell everything tomorrow, don't worry. But is it understood what actually is an interface? Are we cleared with this? Are we cleared with this? At least what is an interface? Everyone, please let me know in the chat, please. Parth, as I said, interface is just like you create a class. Same, just like you create a class, there is some, just like you create a class. What is a class? A class is something which has properties and methods, right, Parth? A class is something which has by default, like, which has properties and methods, like property 1, property 2, right? And which also has methods. But inside a class, the methods have definition. You write some code, right? You write some code. But as I said, in an interface, the methods don't have definition. You just end the methods, that's all. You just write the method, bracket, and semicolon. Your method has been ended. All the methods in an interface are by default abstract. When I say I have an abstract method means methods, functions that don't have implementation. And inside a class, If I want to make a variable as constant, I have to go and write final in front of it. But inside an interface, all the variables are by default final. They are by default constant. That's what I wanted to say. That's what I wanted to say. So basically, an interface is just like a class, but all the properties of interface are by default final, and all the methods are by default abstract. They don't have an implementation. Yes, Parth, don't worry. Let's just go step by step, Parth. What I'm saying, don't try to relate this thing with anything. That's what I'm saying you from, like, you people from a lot of days. Don't try to relate this. Just try to understand what am I saying. That's all. Don't create future doubts. I'm going to explain everything step by step. Please. That's what I'm saying. Don't create future doubts. How it is going to use, how you're going to use, don't worry about it. Yes, there is no body for methods in interface. Are you getting my point, Parth? Don't create future doubts. Let's first reach at some point, then we can ask doubts. So don't think of future. Right now, just understand it like this. Interface is just like a class where all the properties are by default final and all the methods are by default abstract. That is, you never have any definition. Is that clear? Pallavi, there is no difference between final and constant. In Java, whenever you have to write constant, you write final. No, Parth, interface cannot take parameter. Can your classes take parameter? Class and interface are same. Yes, the methods can take parameter. Parameter is not for classes, Parth. Parameter is not for interfaces. Parameter is for methods. So the methods inside an interface can take parameters. Pallavi, there is no difference between final and constant. In Java, constants are known as final. Yes, Parth, methods can have parameters. I'm going to show you, don't worry. Pallavi, is your doubt cleared now? Constant is the thing that is known as final in Java. Is it clear, everyone? Now, so now I can say, like, okay, fine. So if I create an interface, what is the use of it? Where I'm going to use an interface then? Like, if all the properties inside an interface are final, and if all the methods inside an interface are abstract, that means they don't have any definition, then what is the use of an interface then? Then even if I create, like, if interface is just like a class, then even if I create an object of interface, what will I call? Even if I call the method, there is nothing in the method. There's no output, there is no implementation. So actual, like, in real time, we never create an object of interface and call. The use of interface is something like this. Inside an interface, you only specify the rules and regulations, like the properties and the methods and the names of the methods. Now what actually happens is, to use an interface, you create a class. Let's say you create a class demo2 and you inherit an interface. So basically you inherit interface. So I have inherited demo. Let's say I have inherited demo. Now, whenever you inherit an interface, listen to me carefully. Whenever you inherit an interface, it is your duty, it is your responsibility to override the functions that is present inside the interface. It is your responsibility. Now, when I say override, that basically means we learned about function overriding, right? We create the same method that is inside the parent again inside the child, and then we write the implementation. That's all. That basically says you have to create the same method inside the class that is inheriting the interface again, and then you write the implementation about it. Now what actual interface is doing is, whenever you inherit an interface, whenever you inherit it, it forces you, it gives you error till you actually go and override it here, till you implement the method again. Inheritance, then we use override. Exactly, Parth, that's what we do. Interface forces you to override its method. It always says, please override my method again inside your class. So wherever you are inheriting the interface, you have to again rewrite the method and write the implementation. It is forceful, you have to do it. Yes, exactly, Parth. Exactly, that's what you do. Yes, exactly, Avinash. There is no use of interface without implementation. Now, what actually interface is doing? Interface is basically forcing you. So now let's say, like, let's try to understand only a single concept for right now. Then we'll also interface also provides abstraction that I'll make you understand tomorrow. But just for now, think it like this. Think it like this. I have a company, right? I have a company, and I have 6 people working under me, and now I don't want them to use their own method names. Just think it like this. I don't want them to use their own methods name. So what I do, I create an interface. I create an interface and I write all my method names, like 10 methods name, and I tell all of them, please, please inherit this interface. Now what will happen? If they inherit this interface, they have to forcefully use my method names only. So all 6 of them are using my method names only. So basically all 6 of them are on same page. They know, okay, fine, these are the methods. So all of them are using the same method names. So there is no confusion in understanding the code, understanding the function names. Yes, exactly, Parth. Yes, exactly. So if you learn about the interface, like if you know, okay, fine, this program has an interface and it has this method. So I know whoever is implementing this interface will always gonna have these methods. So there is no naming problem. There is never a naming problem. So if I make my interface famous internationally or between, like, let's say 50 people, all 50 people are on the same page. They know the method names that they're gonna use. This is what happens. Interface basically gives you some kind of naming convention in your program. This is only one use. There are a lot of uses, don't worry. I'm going to also show you how interfaces help you to, like, get abstraction done, how they basically provide, they help you to achieve abstraction. That I'm going to explain you tomorrow, but just for now understand like this. So interface is just like a contract. You create it to, like, create a kind of an implementation. Okay, fine, this is how my flow is going to go. And now, please, each and everyone, you have to inherit this interface only. And once you inherit this interface, that basically means you have to override all the methods. You have to write the same names as whatever names I have written in interface. That's all. Is it cleared now? So basically, by writing interface, you write the rules. You write, these are the names that you have to use. Is it clear, everyone? So it's basically some kind of rule for naming your methods. It's basically some kind of contract that, okay, fine, these are the names that you have to use. So now each and everyone implementing my interface, you're going to use all these names. So Avinash, it's a very good question. When we had classes, there were two implementation. Parent had its own implementation, child can have its own implementation. But by using interface, interface is not having an implementation. Interface is just forcing you to use the name. Implementation is always decided by the child. In the case of classes, classes were having its own implementation and child was overriding it but having its own implementation. But in interfaces, you don't have an implementation. Interface don't have an implementation. Only the child's inheriting the interface have the implementation, but names are same. Is it clear, Avinash? And whenever you inherit an interface, you don't write inherit. Just like while inheriting a class, you write extends. While inheriting a interface, you write implements. And by keyword, you will understand it's implement. That basically means I'm implementing the interface. I'm basically using all the things and rewriting them. Yes, exactly, Parth. Avinash, as you're saying, when I was inheriting the class, parent class was having its own definition. And I was writing the same name, but child was having its own definition. But in this case, interface don't have definition. Interface just have names, declaration, and the childs have implementation. Yes, exactly. If you remember, Avinash, my employee class was having its own implementation and child was overriding it. The teacher was overriding, but it was having its own so both were having implementation. Parent was also having implementation and child was also having implementation. But in the case of interface, the parent, that is the interface, is not having an implementation. It just has the rules, the names, and the child is having the implementation. Is it clear, everyone? So basically, interface don't have an implementation. Interface just has the rules and regulations, and it is the responsibility of the class which is inheriting the interface to implement everything. Is it clear, everyone? Now there is one more catch to interface that I'll explain you tomorrow. How actually you can achieve. So this was why interface was made. The concept. Tomorrow I'm going to explain you how you actually can achieve 100% abstraction and what is actually abstraction. I have told it a lot of times today. What actually is abstraction, I'm going to explain you tomorrow. But now you have understood interfaces, so it will be easier for you tomorrow to understand abstraction. So if I was going to like explain you abstraction directly by interfaces, it will be very confusing. That's why I explained you interface. What is interface and how it is like used. And tomorrow I'll explain you how to use abstraction. Yes, interface is just like a parent class, right? I'm inheriting it. It is just like a parent class. Exactly. But you're not going to say it's a parent class. It's a parent interface because it's not a class. It's an interface. That's all. And I hope you now understand the difference between a class and an interface, right? An interface is just like a class, but all the properties are by default final. That means constant, and all the methods are by default abstract. That means they don't have any definition. They don't have any implementation, Avinash. So interface is just like a class, but it's not a class. Is it clear now, everyone? Yes, Parth, abstraction is something related to interface. Actually, interfaces help you to achieve abstraction. And don't get confused. Tomorrow I'm going to explain you how it is done. Don't worry. Don't worry. It is just one step ahead. That's all. I hope people understood what are interfaces and what they actually do. Tomorrow I'm going to show the use of it and how they work. Don't worry. Is it clear to everyone? So which keyword we need to use to inherit the parent interface? Simple, implements. Just like to inherit a class, you use extend. To inherit an interface, you use implements keyword. Implements. Avinash, you use implements keyword to inherit an interface. Is it clear? So I hope everything was understood today. I hope the topics that we learned today were understood by you properly. And I hope again you enjoyed the session. Please let me know in the chat, guys. So tomorrow we're going to learn about abstraction and few more things I have in my mind. I'm going to explain you. Yes, Sangeet, but right now I can't tell you the explanation because I'm going to explain you the application tomorrow. Don't worry. Yes, assignment will be posted on the community. Don't worry, in the next 1 or 2 hours. Assignment will be posted on the community in 1 or 2 hours. Don't worry. Yes, Sangeet, tomorrow I'm going to show you the examples. Don't worry. Today we are not going to learn about any examples about interface. Tomorrow I'm going to show you the example of interface and how actually it is helping you to achieve abstraction. So abstraction is again just a concept, a very important concept. That is the feature, AK. That is the feature. That's how it is made. We can't do anything about it. Like they are made constant by default. Thank you, Pushpa. Thank you for joining. So tomorrow we're going to see how actually interfaces work, how we're going to use them, how is multiple inheritance achieved using interfaces, and why is actually multiple inheritance possible with interfaces and not is not possible with classes, and how interfaces help you to achieve abstraction. Tomorrow we're going to learn everything. What is the Sir, if we implement an interface to a parent class, will the same happen to every child class? Like if a parent class is implementing an interface, so it totally depends directly to the interfaces are always direct. They don't pass on to the next class. So my child class is not actually inheriting the interface. The parent class is inheriting the interface, so the parent class will be forced to implement everything. The child will be not forced. Don't worry. Thank you, Parth. Yes, thank you so much, Parth. Suryansh, you got your doubt cleared? if I'm implementing an interface and there are few childs for me, there are few childs of me, but if I'm implementing an interface, only I'll be forced to implement, because my childs are not implementing the interface, they are extending me. So they depend on me, they're not depending on the interface. Avinash, can you please briefly revise to the topic? Yes, it was simple, right? We learned about inheritance. That was basically the process of extending features of some other class. Then we also learned function overriding, that is basically writing the same function as parent and then calling it. And when the child calls the function, the parent function is not called and the child function is called. That was overriding. And then we learned about interface. Interface is nothing but just a class, just like a class where by default all the properties are constant and all the methods are abstract. That means that methods don't have definition. And when you implement an interface, when you inherit an interface, it is the responsibility of the class to rewrite the methods again, to override the methods again. That's all. Yes, you can leave, Chenna, you can leave. Avinash, I just did it. You understood? Simple. We learned inheritance first. That was the process of extending. Jagdish, I just cut it short, buddy. Because of I was not well, I just cut it short. It will come back in some time. Don't worry. So Avinash, as I was saying, the process of extending a class with some other class is basically known as inheritance, where you get the features of all the class when you're extending it. Simple. Then if you want, you can rewrite the same method that is in parent class in the child class. In that case, the child class will call its own method, that is function overriding. Simple. And then you have something called as interface, where by default all the properties are constant and you have to create only abstract method. That means the methods will not have definition. And if you inherit an interface, you have to forcibly override or rewrite the methods again, implement the methods again. That is the rule. Thank you, Avis. Thank you for joining. Thank you for joining, Avis. Avis Ramuk, thank you. Thank you so much, buddy. That means a lot. Okay. Yes, exactly, Sachi. Yes. Tomorrow I'm going to show you. Sachi, yes. You have to initialize them because they are constant. Then you have to initialize. Yes. That is the like very common concept, and you wrote it. That's amazing, Sachi. Bye bye, everyone. Bye bye. Thank you so much for joining in. Let's join tomorrow and understand about the last topics of object-oriented programming, abstraction and interface, and everything.
So, are we ready to end the session?
Yes, yes, we are ready to end the session, Kriti. Yes.
All right. So, thank you so much.
Yeah, thank you so much.